Hello. Good evening. Welcome to the final episode of the Tingion adventure and the night before our next adventure starts tomorrow. I hope you're all well. I hope Englanders are ready to begin their lockdowning. I hope Wales, you're looking forward to the end of yours. People all over the world who are doing much better with their coronavirus. I'm so jealous. I wish we were. But never mind. We're here in our escapism world. And you guys voted. You chose a Tingian, and it's had an odd effect, but I'm okay with it. I hope it's not an anticlimax, but the end of the story is always much harder than the beginning and the middle. Hello, everybody. Hi, everybody saying hi in the chat. You've had me on mute for how many episodes, Neil? Surely that's dreadful. I'm going to see tomorrow. I'm going to attempt. I think I've worked out how to get captions on here. So hopefully, so people who can't hear will be able to watch it. I think there's speech recognition, but I'm not sure. But if not, the blog is always available. Rich Z couldn't vote, couldn't decide. Ooh, well, I hope, I hope, I don't know what I hope. I hope that works out for you. Your conscience is clear, whatever happens. He had to mute Giuliani's rant before. Oh, I don't want to know what he's up to. I don't want to know. YouTube captions a bit iffy. Yeah, but I'm sure that'll just give you a lot to laugh on, won't it? That that it's translating me very badly. So it's quite a long chapter tonight, and I don't have too much of a rant because I've had a very boring day. I've just been working all day. I've got several projects on the go and trying to write, and I've also set myself a challenge of working out every single day of the lockdown to feel good about myself. So I did a really, really difficult high intensity interval training today, and so I've just really been hungry and tired all day. But I'm working on a big project that I have to sort of hand in tomorrow, and it's been a bit just trying to get my brain to focus on it. And obviously the election, I'm staring at that going like, what does any of this mean? And then thinking, why am I wasting half a day reading this? John says, please, a bit of a rant at least. That's why I'm here. You could just watch other things that aren't 99% stories. If that's, I'm sure there's loads of ranty stuff. But I understand it's me. It's me being angry that you want. I mean, I could rant at you guys because of you buggers. I've had to pause last night's Bake Off just in the middle of the showstopper. John, there you go. You got ranted at personally. Chris, homework question mark? What does that refer to? I've forgotten what I already said. No spoilers. I haven't seen it yet. I'm still it is paused downstairs with Tom and Mackie staring at it. So I have no idea what's going to happen. But I'm excited. You don't feel that Bake Off is my fault? Well, you should. Oh, my project. Yes, it's a TV show, a scripted television show that I have just sold to a production company, which is very exciting. So I don't know whether it'll ever get made, but basically I'm at the point in the moment where I'm putting together a treatment for it. So I'm finding that quite stressful because I like to write and I know the characters really well and I know how they will talk to each other, and then I see how the plot develops. But with TV stuff, you can't really write like that. You kind of have to prepare all the treatment and go, this is what it's going to be. And I'm there going, well, I don't know, I haven't written it yet. And they're going, but there's no point writing it if you don't get this bit right. So I'm sort of reverse engineering my own creative process, but that's fine. If that's how I've got to learn to write, that's absolutely fine. So I'm really excited about that. I'm working with a great producer at a really good company. I'm really excited by the company that bought it. They've made a lot of good stuff, and the producer I'm working with really seems to believe in it. So we just got to get the rest of the stuff out, and fingers crossed in a couple of years' time, you could be watching a sitcom written by this old idiot. Thank you very much for all your good wishes. Yeah, I'm really excited about it. I'm really excited. It's again, it's nice to have another project on, and obviously hopefully I'll be writing a lot of the next book over this lockdown too. Got to start writing it. Mystic, I'm starring in it. I mean, if I could, that would be lovely, but really, they'll probably want to load it up with famous people, because if it's an unknown writer, then to get it sold and to get people to watch it, you have to put people you've heard of in. But if there was a part for me, that would be fun. But hey, I like the writing. The writing's the fun bit in it. And by then I'll be so old. Right, shall we do chapter 37? The final chapter of the Tingian adventure. We did quite well with this book. We're up to 47,000 words, so we've done decently. I'm famous. I'm not famous at all. Some people have heard of me. I'm Twitter famous-ish, but I'm not famous. Right, chapter 37. Marine's eyes flickered open. She lay with her back on the hard earth, looking up at blackness and flickering light. She wondered where she was. Had she gone home to her parents? She would have looked around, but there was a serenity to just lying there and realizing she was thinking again after a long pause from it. Where had she been? She didn't feel like she'd been asleep. This felt different. She felt like she had very physically been somewhere else. But how would she ever know where? Even as she lay here, thinking these thoughts, the sensations were becoming less distinct. She felt very cozy and normal. Marine smiled and closed her eyes again. Karan! Her eyes were open for a second then! Marine knew that voice. That was Mortglade. What was Mortglade doing in her parents' house? Did she know about the stone? Marine's eyes shot open as all of the memories of Topside, the stone, Ezra, and Van Weir came flooding back in an instant. It stung her forehead as the weight of all the thoughts rushed in at once. Sidebar. One of the votes was going to mean that we would have gone to the space-time continuum where Marine's mind was, but we didn't go down that route. So she's just woken up. But I felt like she'd still been there for continuity, but we just never got that chapter because we got other things. Marine! Mortglade sounded overjoyed, and Marine felt a hand on hers. She looked over and saw Karan looking at her with joy. Oh, you're awake. Thank goodness for that. Karan breathed a heavy sigh of relief. Marine smiled uncertainly. How long have I not been awake? I don't know in beats, said Karan cautiously, but a number of lights and darks up here. How are you feeling? All right. Peaceful. Where is everyone? Mortglade and Karan exchanged glances. They've gone back to the city to try and stop Van Weir. Marine scrambled to her feet. Then we need to follow them. She fumbled in her pocket for the stone and suddenly felt its crashing absence like a stab through her heart. What's the matter? Asked Karan, recognizing the panicked look on Marine's face. I had the stone. Here, in my pocket. Marine pulled the pocket inside out to illustrate its emptiness. It's gone. Karan and Mortglade stared at the empty pocket. You had the stone? That's not the right accent, is it, Scott? You had the stone? No, I'm getting Irish now. Mortglade marvelled. How did you fit it in your pocket? It took all of us to get it below. I don't know. It shrank when I needed it to. I think I have the magic in me. There have been some odd things. It was called the Bromelia trilogy, Ben. There have been some odd things, and the stone seemed to listen to me and help me do the magic better. It's gone. I feel small. Marine, we saw someone very briefly in the hedge while you were out cold. It was blurry and dark. They snuck in and out so quickly. Do you think they took the stone? Marine nodded. I bet it was Van Weir. But Van Weir's back in the city. It could be someone still loyal to her. We have to get down there, Marine said, a steely glint in her eye. That stone is powerful, and I don't know what she'll do if she masters it. I've felt it. I've used it. I can't imagine what she might be able to do if she also has other stones. We know. Oh, no, hang on. We know. Karan, Mortglade and Marine all looked up at once towards the gap in the hedge. A small band of topsiders stood there armed and with grim expressions on their faces. We've come. Where do you need us? The topsiders stepped apart to allow Marine a clear view of the huge crowd of them stood outside the hedge. Each of the 12 families had assembled and arrived as quickly as they could. Marine waited, hoping that Mortglade or Coran would assume command so that she wouldn't have to. Neither did. We think she's gone below, Marine whispered. Then we'll go below, said the leader. Van Wyer moved quietly, cautiously back along the steps she had memorized so deeply in her mind. She could hear the ringing in her ears that going below ground again caused, and she rubbed her fingers over and over the stone in excitement. All she needed to do now was remain hidden. The citizens of the city stared at the topsiders. Who were these tall interlopers in their city? Was this the invasion they had long feared? There weren't very many of them, if there were, but maybe it only took a few topsiders. Goodness, look at the size of them. Families huddled in their houses, while some poked their heads out of windows to see what was going on. Ezria smiled at their fearful curiosity as she led Sinfire and the others through the streets towards Van Weer's office. They'd moved as quickly as they could, down through the tunnel, and then had been amazed as the forces massed on the edge of the city. Led by Aesmar, almost every single battalion the city had to defend it was on the march looking for one woman, Van Weer. There was no sign of her as yet. She was slippery and devious. Her daughter's face was set firm in her determination to find her and crush her. Between Sinfire, Aesmar, and Ezria, it had been decided that they would fortify all routes in and out of the city with Tingions. There's no point chasing Van Weer above ground. We will never find her. We must wait below and catch her when she tries to slink back in like the rat she is. They left soldiers at every junction, lining every exit and turn out of the city. There wasn't a single hole in the net they wove. Aesmar led Ezria and her team back to the office under the watchful eye of the citizens of the city. Van Weer pushed apart the loose pebbles and crumbled the thin mud wall with her strong hands. When there was a hole big enough for her to squeeze through, she did so, and then paused to listen to the silence she anticipated. Where would she have gone? Sinfire asked Aesmar. I assume to get the stone, Aesmar replied, a frisson of tension between the two Tingions. Ezria looked pale. It is with Marine. We should never have left her. We couldn't have moved her either, Elef reminded. The conversation paused again. There's just no sense to us chasing her around topside. We'll never find her. If she wants power, she has to come back here. I say we wait her out here, Ezria said, looking around at each of the Tingians in turn. Sinfire looked at the walls, wishing they were further away, but eventually she nodded. I think you're right. The 12 families will be amassed above ground. If Van Weer tries anything, they're a good backstop for now. I think Ezria's right. If ultimate power of the city is what she wants, she needs to come here to get it, and we'll be ready for her when she does. The other stones glinted against the light of her glow lamp, and Van Weer smiled. She pulled the last stone out of her pocket and held it up against the others. Excuse me, ma'am. There's topsiders. Loads of them. At the gates of the city. The messenger was breathless and sweaty. Aesmar looked at Sinfire. The 12 families? I can't believe they've come below. They've got Skylorn with them, ma'am. And 2 others I don't know. They were led here by them. Marine, cried Elef, overjoyed at the information that Marine was alive. Tears sprang up into her eyes. Ezria smiled fondly, glad that her own eyes were more disciplined. Show them in, Aesmar said. All of them? The messenger was wide-eyed with shock. I don't think, with the greatest respect, they'll all fit, ma'am. Show in Marine, Mortglade, Coran, and the leaders of each of the 12 families. Aesmar smiled gently, and Ezria was pleased to see how well she took being in command. She was a natural. Marine, Mortglade, Coran, and the leaders of the 12 families crammed into the office that was feeling ever smaller. The topsiders shifted uncomfortably at the close quarters, and Aesmar apologised. We needn't stay in here long. I'm very grateful to you for hearing our cry for help and coming. It's more than just your cry, said Diminity, the patriarch of one of the bigger families from the field. We need the stones back to preserve our way of life. Without them, we may not be able to stay above ground. They shuddered at the thought of living with mud walls and no view of the sky. It's not so bad once you get used to it, Ezria said dryly. But we will do all within our power to help you stay with your beloved sky. You have my word. There was more solemn nodding. The topsiders from the 12 families joined the forces of the city battalions, and the largest force of Tingions the city had ever seen sat and waited for Van Wyer, their would-be tyrant. And what now? The little voice made Van Wyer jump. It spiked out of the darkness and shredded her illusion that she'd been alone. Who's there? Van Wyer barked. Oh, it's a while since we've done Van Weer's voice, isn't it? It was Dutch, wasn't it? Yes. Who's there? Van Wyer barked, hearing her voice bouncing back at her from the flat, smooth walls. Surely you recognise my voice. Mavis lifted a glow lamp and revealed her position in the corner between two of the larger stones. You can't have paid that little attention to me, can you? Not even you are that self-centred. Oh, Mavis! Van Wyer half yelped, half snorted, such was her confusion. How did you know about this place? This is so dreadful. I ran every inch of your life. Did you really think you had any secrets from me? You thought I was so powerless it didn't matter that you left things within reach of my, what do you call them? My sluggy little eyes. Well, yes, that was it. My sluggy little eyes noticed everything you were up to, including this place. Van Wyer was recovering from her surprise and shook the adrenaline out of her shoulders. Well, so what if you do know? You are powerless. I have the stones now, and there's nothing you or anyone else can do to stop me doing anything I want to do. You don't know what to do with them. They are worth nothing to you. Sure, Van Wyer did sneer now, looking down at tiny Mavis with such contempt that Mavis felt her muscles weaken and her legs bend involuntarily. So you have thrown everything we worked so hard for away for a bunch of stones that might as well be pebbles to you. I will learn how to master them, and then you're going to sit down here in the dark staring at some stones until you work out what they do. You're not worried about starving to death or about the fact that your daughter has the entire military looking for you. You're a fool. I grow tired of you talking. Van Wyer advanced on Mavis with a hand raised and her lip curled in ugly aggression. She was barely a step away when the stones around her started to glow. First gently, then brighter and brighter. Van Wyer looked at them with astonishment. You see, already they are starting to share their magic. All they needed was to be reunited. This is so bad. Or is it me? Said Mavis quietly. And all light from the stones extinguished, plunging them into complete darkness. You? Van Wyer whispered bitterly. That isn't you. There's no way you could do anything so. Her voice was cut off by the stones raging into brightness again, a light so blinding and bright that she had to shield her eyes from it. You have always underestimated me, Mavis said flatly. It was always going to be your downfall. The intensely white stones flew up into the air and then launched themselves at Van Wyer, crushing her beneath a volley of solid weight. Mavis stood watching implacably. If Van Wyer wanted the stones above all else, she could have them above all else. They could be the last thing she would have. The stones crushed Van Wyer, smothering her sobs and cries of pain. She crumpled into the floor and soon disappeared under the small avalanche of rocks. Mavis stood, letting the light dim to a more bearable level. She smiled to herself shyly. Perhaps every single soldier in the city was ready and prepared, but not a single one of them would raise a hand. She had solved the problem with minimum fuss. as was the Tingian way. Mavis reduced the size of the stones to a level she could manage, filled her pockets, and made her way out of the secret room. She paused to block back up the passageway, and then headed back to the office and her cubby. Marine Skylawn looked from the river to the sky, the two things she was named for and finally lived with every day. She felt alive. Since the downfall of Van Weir, many Tingians had made their way above ground to try out living in the fresh air. Marine Skylawn had been one of them. She joined Sinfire's hedge and family quite happily, hunting and tracking and farming and living out under that great expanse of lights, colours and noises. With the stones back in their positions around the field, protection was re-established for the Tingians that shared their world with humans. Marine felt at peace. Well, she did for as long as she wasn't looking at the river. Pooh! There you go. No, her parents didn't die, but they're not going to come and live up topside. And besides which, now that they've got more of a, what's it called, like a truce, she can go below from the city to the topside. So yeah, a simple typo in the chat ended up being our victor. You dodged some bullets there. So you had several endings. There was that ending where a big army was amassed and then little Mavis out. If you'd voted Marine, she was going to kill Van Weir but die in the effort. So you saved Marine's life. You saw the Mavis situation. There was also the option that Asmar would have killed Van Weir, would have given the stones back to the top side. Oh, and Marine would have got together with Karan in that ending. So interesting. But the other interesting one, Van Weir could have killed herself experimenting with the stones, and the city would have been blown up and everyone would have moved topside, all the Tingians in the city. So interesting. Yeah, sorry, Lady Frag, I have given you a terrible life there with Chris having saved the day by inventing a stone cold killer. So yeah, fun. I kind of like the idea of having all of the 12 families in this big army all amassing, and then just Mavis is boom, no, not having it. So it's quite fun. Well, there we go. We're at the end of another adventure. We don't have to wait months for the next one because tomorrow, why not? So, Durkis, you voted for City Explosion. Well, it would have been quite fun. The whole thing was going to crumble and then there was going to have to be a mass exodus and everybody was going to have to learn to live topside. Quite fun. So, yeah, so we'll start a new adventure tomorrow. I'm really excited. I love the start of these. It's lots of fun. So I know you've been spreading the word. If you could remember to do thumbs up and stuff. And we'll be ready to start a new adventure tomorrow. A whole blank slate all over again. I hope you still enjoy it. I hope you don't feel any pressure to have to turn up to these, but I know the rest of my month is the only piece of work I had in for the whole of November got cancelled today, so that sucks. So yes, I'm very much looking forward to a new story, and thank you again for being so supportive and lovely. And I'll see you tomorrow at 10 p.m. for the first chapter of the Lockdown Book Club, which I've given them all different names. First one was Audience Chooses the Plot. This one's been the Audience Adventure 2, confusingly. And then tomorrow it's going to be Lockdown Book Club. I think it'd be really nice to try and grow the audience for it. So that's going to be, I'm going to really try that over the next week of really sort of pushing it on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and stuff, and really try and get us a nice crowd, find some newbies. Right, I shall see you tomorrow. Bye.